Hey, Nikolai. Yes, Argyle. Don't you think it would boost morale if this place was called something a little more pleasant? No. I mean, Point Dread is so grim. Why not Point Glad? No. Or Point Pleasant? We've already been over this with the sorceress and King Randor. It needs to sound spooky to scare Skeletor and his henchmen away. I got it! Point Splendid! Argyle. Yes, Nikolai? No longer speak.
Hi He fans and She-Ravers, it's your friendly neighborhood Michael Mercy, and I'm coming to you from the Eternian corner of my nerd cave today, because my next 360 swag review is the Masters of the Universe Classics Point Dread and Talon Fighter. The Masters of the Universe Classics Point Dread and Talon Fighter comes in this huge box with some beautiful original artwork on the front. And for the vintage fans, the same style of red ink images of other He-Man figures, vehicles, and playsets on the back. Just a word of warning to you collectors who want the box to be in perfect condition with no dents. The last two items I've ordered from Matty Collector were just loose in the box. There was no wadded up paper or packing materials in there to stop the packaging from banging around during shipment. So if you have OCD when it comes to your packaging being in pristine mint condition, don't order anything from Matty anymore. Only pain you will find. I'll start the review with the included pilot figure, a Filmation-style Tila. I wasn't expecting much from this figure thanks to the other reviews I've seen, and that's probably why I'm not all that disappointed. There's some sloppy paint apps on the face.
I must have bumped my head.
I like the Toon-style sword she comes with, but the big china on it takes away some of the magic, to be honest. She also includes a second helmeted head to pilot the Talon Fighter. Here she is with the original Classics release of Tila. I personally prefer the original version. I like the fancier gold accents and weapons on the original better, the darker browns, and the hairstyle. The original Tila goes for a hefty price tag though, so if you missed out on that release, this Filmation version is better than nothing. And here she is with the vintage style Tila. You've come a long way, baby. And here it is, the gargantuan Point Dread and Talon Fighter. The first part I'll focus on is Point Dread, the lookout post for Castle Grayskull. The sculpting and coloring is consistent with the Classics Castle Grayskull, so it'll fit in perfectly displayed either beside your castle or attached to it. Inside is a removable computer console with paint details for the buttons and electronics, and a sticker for the monitor. A hologram sticker for the screen would have been cool, but probably not within Mattel's budget for this item. And the Talon Fighter. This bird is big. The original was a one-seater, but they've expanded this one to hold two figures. I've got a pair of Eternian Palace Guards inside, mainly because Tila's grip is a smaller one than the male figures, and the controls are designed for the larger male grip hands. I think if you have Tila grip the controls for a long period of time, it'll loosen her grip on her own weapons. The Eternian guards are also better color coordinated for the Talon Fighter. The orange of their armor goes nicely with the orange body of the fighter. Look at the detailing in the cockpit. It's amazing. Great paint applications here. I'm so glad they didn't have all the controls just be stickers, although the monitor is a sticker, and they give you 3 different options on what image you want displayed on there. I've opted to just leave the screen blank. I'd prefer to not have a glossy sticker that clashes with the great matte paint applications in there. And the paint applications on the body of the Talon Fighter are also fantastic. The shades of orange and blue are great, the red accents really pop, and I love the metallic blue they added in on top of the matte blue. This is a beautifully sculpted and painted piece that I'm very happy to have in my Masters of the Universe collection. The windows of the Talon Fighter are actual windows now.
Back in my day, we didn't have clear plastic windows on our vehicles. We had just a big hole, and we had to pretend there was a window there. And we liked it.
I really like the windows on the Talon Fighter. They look really nice when the light gleams off it just right. And check out how much headroom the figures have inside. It's nice that they're not crammed in. I hate it when the roof of a vehicle is hitting the top of a figure's head. OCD warning, there are some scuffs and scratches on the windows. I personally like it. It looks like battle damage, or maybe they hit a flying gooble by accident. The weapons on the original fighter were part of the sculpt, but this time they're individual pieces that can be attached onto the ship. The radar dish has also been faithfully recreated and is painted in the metallic blue paint. It can be rotated like the original as well. It's very easy to assemble, and feels very sturdy too. Detaching the Talon fighter from Point Dread is simple, you just pull the tab and launch. And to reattach the fighter, just drop it onto the perch and listen for the click. It's comparison time. Here it is with the dusty, beat-up, old Talon fighter I got off of eBay. You'll notice the handle on the original is missing from the update. Fine by me. The new one is meant as a display piece and not as a toy to fly around the house. And it's pretty heavy, so I imagine a lot of people would have trouble holding it by just a handle at the back anyways. I've talked about how huge this piece is, but in fairness, the original one was as well. The Classics Point Dread and Talon fighter is almost as tall as the Classics Castle Grayskull, which is fitting because the original Point Dread and Talon fighter was almost as tall as the vintage Castle Grayskull. And here's what many of you have been waiting for, the Talon fighter attached to Castle Grayskull. This makes a huge playset even bigger. I can't stress how huge this is. I actually had to move my camera back further than I ever have for one of these reviews just to get the whole thing in view from top to bottom. The plastic on the Point Dread piece that attaches to Castle Grayskull has some flexibility to it, so it doesn't feel like it's going to snap all that easily. But I think if you do this swap too often, you are going to break some pegs or scratch up your castle like Pixel Dan said in his review. To be honest, while it's nice they included the vintage attachment feature, I don't like this. The fighter looks too big perched on the castle, and it takes away from the castle's creepy sculpt. It makes it look goofy, which is a problem for a piece like Castle Grayskull, which looks so grim and foreboding. Plus the colors clash. Also, the fighter is very heavy, and I feel like after a while it's going to warp your castle from leaning back. It's great that they were able to perfectly match the Point Dread color and sculpt with the castle, and it's a nice bonus feature, especially for people who won't have the space for such a huge piece, since now they can just build up instead of out. But for me, I'll display the castle on its own with Point Dread beside it. Another classic, iconic vehicle, reimagined, updated, and upgraded. Yeah, it comes with a hefty price tag, and a lot of people just won't have the space for it, even if they can afford it. But if you're a huge Masters of the Universe fan, this is an absolute work of art by Mattel. So what do you think? Is it worth the money? Do the positives outweigh the negatives? Scroll down and go to town. And to join the Nerd Tribe, hit subscribe. Nerd must stay.